I am Dr. Julius Oni. I am the CEO and co-founder at Excite Capital. As an orthopedic surgeon in Baltimore, I am invested in relieving pain and restoring mobility. I specialize particularly in hip and knee replacements. The joy of seeing patients live better lives and live higher quality of lives fuels my passion for excellence. My journey in medicine began at Howard University College of Medicine, where I earned my medical degree. That was followed by residency at NYU Hospital for Joint Disease, now known as NYU Langone Orthopedic Hospital, followed by a fellowship at Rush University Medical Center. About 5 years ago, we started Excite Capital and cultivated a vibrant, multifamily real estate focused company. Over the last few years, our collective efforts helped us acquire $168 million worth of real estate, which was unimaginable when we started, but it is truly a testament to our unwavering dedication and the power of community. This success story resonates deeply with me. Based on my experiences, I found better ways to invest my time and my money. Learn from me, learn from my failures, learn from my successes. Join us in this exciting journey called multifamily real estate investing.
Okay, now we're back. All technical difficulties, but okay, I'm getting feedback. Okay, just once. Okay, we're ready to go. So thank you so much for being a guest, Dr. Julius. It is an absolute honor. I've been following you over the years, and I've looked at your movement from U.S. Howard orthopedic surgeon now in Nigeria, real estate investing. Walk us through the journey.
Thank you so much for inviting me on to this podcast and to this platform. It's a great honor, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction. Also, actually, that video was shot about a year ago for Excite Capital, and since then, our asset under management has actually climbed up to 217 million. I'm super proud of that, but
Ooh,
we'll talk about that later.
yes.
But I am Dr. Julius Oni. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and moved to the U.S. at 17, to start college. And so, and I was lucky enough to go through college, go through medical school, straight through, and match for at an orthopedic surgery residency in New York, and then did my specialist training, fellowship training in adult reconstructive surgery. That's surgery of the hips and knees at
Mhm.
Rush University Medical Center. And since then, I've been in practice. That's about 12 to, I mean, my 13th year of practice currently.
Wow.
So, so yeah, that's been my medical journey. And on the business side, At least when it comes to real estate investing. I collaborate with two other gentlemen, Leslie Awasam and Tenny Tolofari, to start a company called Excite Capital, where we buy apartment buildings, apartment complexes, multifamily real estate in collaboration with other investors just like us
Mhm.
who are busy professionals, and we collate resources and buy this cash flowing multifamily assets to create passive income sources for these hardworking professionals, also create legacy wealth for them.
Mm.
So that's kind of the journey in
Yeah.
summary. I guess we can
Yeah.
go into significant details in the next several minutes.
Yeah, well, you know what? What I'm interested in. You came here at 17. You went to university. Why did you choose orthopedic surgery? Why did you choose medicine? What was
That's
the only? And then I'm going to get to the investment side. So let's walk through
got
that
you.
first.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I went in undergrad. I actually tried everything. I tried anthropology, tried to do music, tried to um, tried a few other courses, and I even tried to maybe do research. Um, but eventually, I quickly realized that I love biology. I
Okay.
love the physiology of the human body. And I love understanding the pathophysiology of the human body. And I'm a people person. So,
Okay.
um, as much as I tried to run away from being a doctor, as much
Yeah.
I knew that this was kind of my calling. My father was a doctor, by the way, just in Nigeria, or and he's a
Okay.
doctor, a general practitioner. And because he was so busy and his life was pretty hectic, and being a doctor in a relatively small town, I wanted no parts of it. As a young person, you just
Yeah.
you wanted to do something a little easier than what you saw. Absolutely. So, but eventually, the affinities that I had in undergrad pushed me in the
Yeah.
direction of medical school. So I eventually took the MCAT, did well, got into medical school. And then when I was in medical school, I thought I wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon.
Okay.
And so everything was geared towards that. And it wasn't until a chance um, conversation with my father talking about my paternal grandmother, that's his mother, and how she was struggling with end stage arthritis of both knees. Then I was like, wait, why can't someone fix it? He was like,
Ah.
there's no one to fix it. And I was like, in a country of at that point, I think 180 million people, Nigeria, there's no one to fix this expeditiously. She's like, yeah, there's one person that's doing surgeries, but they've got a 2-year waiting list.
Oh my goodness.
So from that point on, I decided that I was going to become an orthopedic surgeon so that I could take care of other people's, I mean, take care of my grandma, take care of other people's grandmas,
Yeah.
grandpas, uncles, aunties, fathers, mothers. And so I switched from cardiovascular surgery at that point to orthopedic surgery. And the rest is history. I ended up getting into residency, ended up becoming an orthopedic surgeon. Unfortunately, my paternal grandmother died about 3 years after that conversation. But just
Okay.
like I promised, I've been able to take care of other people's family members, and it's been the joy of my life. So that's it.
That's an amazing journey that something could trigger watching your grandmother there and nobody is there to do that. But again, you had the skills to move it to the next level, to go out and get that degree, surgical degree, to come back and do those kind of things even though she's not there. So if you look at, your father was an inspiration, and your grandmother was also an inspiration in trying to drive your career.
Absolutely, there's no questions about it. I mean, she actually predicted that I was going to study in the U.S. So she was very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was a very religious lady, prayed a lot, and she had told my father that she had dreams that I went to the U.S. and studied. And at that time, we were living in this very small town, It just seems completely far-fetched that this small kid, this young kid in this very small town will end up somewhere in the US. But that vision, that dream actually gave my father and mother the confidence to take the steps that were needed to allow me to take the SATs and just, essentially do the things that were needed to at least give me a shot at going to school in the US. And when I
Wow.
did, and I did well on those exams and started to get some partial scholarships, now there became a pathway, even though at the beginning it was just so far-fetched. And
Yeah.
so that really ties in together to why, she was very near and dear to my heart. I loved her dearly, and I just wanted to make a difference for her, and that changed the trajectory of my life completely.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. Now, you're an associate professor and director of global orthopedic at Johns Hopkins. That's a different level of success. You just don't get there. You don't come out of medical school and say, I got the degree. Oh, yeah, come over here. And this is a job we have as the assistant, as the director of global orthopedics. That does not happen.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So, I mean, my first 3 years of practice actually was in what was in Philly, in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at a hospital in northern Philly called Einstein Medical Center, now called Jefferson Einstein. And the reason why I actually chose that particular job was one of my very dear mentors, Dr. Richard Grant, who is now retired, was he wrote one of my wrote a beautiful letter for me when I was applying for residency. And he was there at that practice, and he called me up and said, Julius, I need you. I need you to come join the practice. We have work to do in North Philly. It was underserved. It was and even though I had planned to go back to it, I had already had a job offer at NYU where I trained. At that point, I rescinded that job offer and joined Dr. Grant in Northern
Oh,
Philly, just because that population was near and dear to my heart.
mm,
Um, and after 3 years of working there, my practice grew really fast, but I quickly became kind of like the big fish in a small pond.
yeah.
And then that was where Hopkins came to recruit me, because I
Okay.
was teaching at a course, a national course, and I didn't know, but there were like three different division chiefs or chairmen of different departments throughout the country in the audience. And at the end of that talk, all three of them approached me and said, "Are you looking for a job?" I was like, "No, not really." And one of them was the division chief from Hopkins, and he just never gave up. For the next 18 months, he just kept pestering me
Yeah.
until I eventually gave in. And after talking to a lot of my mentees and mentors, it became clear that it was time for me to move on and go on
Wow.
to the next challenge. So yeah, I'd made that move to Johns Hopkins, and it was one of the best moves I ever made in my life, because
Yeah.
yes, now once again I was the super small fish in a very large pond,
Uh,
and I had I was placed in my zone of discomfort, which throughout my life I've realized I need to be in to grow fast.
mm,
So being in that zone, I was able to once again work hard, and build another practice from ground up. And before long, I was the busiest surgeon in the academic division there,
wow.
at Hopkins. I became the fellowship director, for joint replacement. I, became the director for global orthopedics for the department, and things just kind of flourished from there. So, I have a lot of great mentors, great friends, great colleagues, great partners to thank for the growth that I experienced there. And I certainly have my patients to thank too, because they 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 trusted me with their bodies. They trusted me with their lives, and I grew tremendously in the process, for sure.
You make it sound so easy. If I was going to serve orthopedic surgeons, I want to be like Dr. Julius. I want to do this, this, this. I'm sure along the way you've ran into roadblocks, or you ran into even questioning yourself, did I make a right choice? How
Oh
did
yeah.
you refocus, because we all hit these roadblocks, and we
Oh yeah,
which way to go and all those things. Walk us through
absolutely.
the, the discomfort of I don't know what to do next. So am I doing the right thing?
Oh, no questions. I mean, throughout my journey, it's always been, I mean, it's even starting from medical school. I came from a relatively small undergrad, State University of New York at Plattsburgh, New York, you
Yeah.
know? And so when I got to Howard and I'm talking to my classmates, and there's people from Harvard, from Yale, from Stanford, and I'm like, there's smart people from all these institutions all over the country.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from this small school, and I'm like, am I going to be able to compete? And but I gave it my all, and I found out I was able to compete. And then soon I got to residency, NYU, Hospital for Joint Disease, and there were all these people from all the best medical schools in the country, I'm like, am I gonna be able to compete here too? And at that point, NYU for the past, at least we tracked it as far back as 32 years, they had not matched a black resident. And
Really?
so, yeah, yeah. So it was me and a gentleman called Dr. Damani Howell. We both matched as the first, as far as we know, the first black residents in that combined program, NYU Hospital for Joint Disease. And so all of a sudden, people are looking at us like not knowing what to do with us.
I know.
Some people even mistook me for like the health, like the transporter. I can't tell you how many times people thought I was the transporter or something, because
Yeah.
that's what they were used to seeing. So, but guess what? I didn't really worry about what people thought. I just worried about, once again, controlling the things that I could control, which is my output, the quality of what I did. And
Hmm.
once again, I was able to deliver, go to one of the best fellowships in the country, where once again, I was the first Black fellow that Rush University Medical Center accepted in, I think, over 30 years of their
Wow.
existence at that
Wow.
point.
Wow.
So, but my goal in every of these spaces was always to make sure that, yes, I may be the first to come in, or one of the first to come in, but I better sure not be the last. I got to make sure that I'm opening that door wide open, that any misconception that anyone may have, that
Mhm.
that is completely dispelled by their interaction with me. And so, and in a lot of those situations, even in those toughest times, many times in residency, in fellowship, in practice, I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do this, but the bottom line is, I've always just fought in those tough times. I just pick myself back up and I say, listen, I'm just gonna focus on the one thing that I can control, and that's just trying,
Mm.
and just focus, and just do it one step at a time. And before I know what, I've dug myself out of the that deep dark places, and I'm back in the light and flourishing. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that works even now.
So the concept of that is imposter syndrome. We get there, so, oh, do I belong? Can I compete against everyone else? So, and what you're saying
Absolutely.
is, what I'm getting is that I'm staying focused. I can control this. I control what I can control, and the
Yep.
rest will possibly fall into place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
In doing that, that's absolutely amazing. So walk us through how you, when we talk about staying focused, and we have those moments that we question ourselves. Would any of the earlier concepts you talked about, your grandmother, your father, was that kind of an anchor too? So I can do this. I'm going to focus on this, but here's what my grandmother told me. Stay focused, or whatever it is. How did that tie in?
So, so, yeah. So my parents are my heroes, and they are just incredible, incredible people. And one of the things that they taught me very early on is that I need to is self-confidence, like
Mm.
assuredness,
Yeah.
and it's in and this is one of the things that I'm extremely thankful for, because they made sure to let me know that what other people say does not matter. What matters is what I think about myself.
Okay.
And this is one of the, I think, advantages actually of growing up in a place like Nigeria or Africa in general, is that you kind of taught to essentially feel like a king, feel like
Okay.
a queen, as you grow up. So yes, I remember something my father would say was like, yeah, I may not be a king anywhere else, but I'm a king in my own house. So you may not be a prince anywhere else, but in this house, you're the crown prince. I'm the first child. So when for the first 17 years of your life, you feel like you could walk into any room with your
Okay.
shoulders, with a head up high and shoulders straight, and walk in with confidence. Even though when I first came to the U.S., that took a big hit, because all of a sudden I was a minority, which was a strange concept to me. All of a sudden, there were like little microaggressions. All of us, I didn't even know how to define them. All of a sudden, I would raise my hands in my undergrad class, and the teacher would completely ignore me. And I would say something, and it would just be like no one really paid attention to anything that I said, and it was a complete challenge initially. But I just fell right back into the the fact that, what, they may not know my worth yet,
Yeah.
but I know who I am,
Yeah.
and sooner or later they're gonna realize it. And
Mm.
so I'll tell you this story. In undergrad, just to kind of let you know how just having those formative years be strong. In undergrad, in my second year, I think. So first year was rough. I mean, I was getting used to a new culture, new concept of living by myself. It was just really tough. This is in '99. Getting used to learning how to use a computer and the internet, the early days of the internet. I mean, it
Yeah.
was a lot of changes, right?
Everything.
Um, and so and I decide in my second year that I'm going to run for the vice president for academics for the entire student association, like the student body. And I run I run against like a very popular, frat boy. I still remember his name, Greg McGrath. Very fantastic gentleman. He's just a nice, awesome guy. But no one gave me a shot to make it happen. But guess what I did? I printed out a poster of myself, the goofiest poster now that I think about it. I walked every building where people, the dormitories. I knocked on every person's door,
Wow.
and like over a span of weeks.
Yeah.
And I just introduced myself, and most people just slammed the door in my face for the most part, but enough people listened. And by the end of that exercise of doing that, I think half of the campus knew who I was.
Oh wow.
And I won by a tiny little margin, but I did win.
You win.
Believe it or not, I won. And that was the beginning of me just believing that I could do anything, even against all odds. I could
Mm.
I could make something happen. And
Wow.
Greg ended up being one of my really good friends from undergrad. We ended up doing a lot of great things together. But I mean, it was just one of those things early on that showed me that even in the strangest of places, even in the most difficult situations, I could still face the greatest of odds and still come out on top. So
Wow. Well, that's an absolute masterclass of a story that no chance of ever thinking I could be there. But you know what? I'm going to try it anyway, and then eventually I came out on top. I mean, that's masterclass stuff there when you talk about that. Yeah, that's so cool. So how do
thank
you
you.
how do you take all of the learnings and all of that, and now I always and I've always kind of thought of this. I've had surgery before. The surgeon is the CEO of that operating corridor. for that
Hmm. Hmm.
hour, 2 hours, or whatever it is.
Yep, yep, yep.
Are there learnings from all you've gone through in leadership and so-called managing people in a operating room? Or
Ab-
I don't know.
Absolutely,
I don't
absolutely.
know
This,
whether that. I don't know
no,
whether that's different, a different
no,
context. But you're in charge of that space as well as the patient.
absolutely. I mean, there's no question. So, I mean, you do learn a lot about leadership and leading people as a surgeon because these patients has trusted you with their limb, with their life, and they're expecting that you're going to be able to shepherd the entire surgical team to make sure that they have a good outcome, a great outcome.
Hmm.
And I don't take that responsibility lightly. And so for us as surgeons, um, uh, we learn over time to to prep for every possible scenario
Oh.
that could occur in the operating room. So we learn to visualize the entire day, to anticipate where some of the challenges could come up, to prep for those challenges. So before any surgery, we essentially have plan A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. So that training certainly lends itself in almost any facet of life and it's definitely translated well to all of the other leadership positions that I've enjoyed ever since I learned to become a surgeon. And one of the most important things, besides being conscientious, besides paying significant attention to details, besides being able to like completely phase out distraction and completely be focused for the long periods of times, one of the greatest um, uh, things that a surgeon can master is maintaining calm under significant duress.
Mm.
Because the once you as the surgeon starts to freak out,
Yeah.
everybody else starts to freak out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one can do their best work, and when they're completely confused and stressed.
Mm.
So that's one of the things that I learned over time. I remembered when I was in my first year of practice, when a complication would happen, I would have this big reaction, scrub out, go to the corner and do my woosahs, and just try to calm my do breathing exercises and
Yeah.
try to calm
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
down. But over time, over time, I didn't need that big reaction anymore.
Okay.
If something happened, you just know that, and some of that comes with experience too. You know exactly what to do, what to expect, how long this is going to take, you know exactly what to call for. So, knowing and learning and having that experience and just training your body to withstand quite a bit of stress eventually allows you to maintain significant calm regardless of what's going on. And so now it's hard to phase me in the operating room
Yeah.
13
Yeah.
years into it, no matter what's happening, I
Yeah.
just one step at a time, one step at a time. And
Yeah.
the goal is to continue to watch out for the patient and also watch out for the staff. But we safety first, success first. But if you just take it one step at a time and you just maintain calm, almost all of the time you get to the finish line successfully.
You know what I'm thinking about? The
Well,
professor at John Hopkins University said, "I see something here, and I want this person to come back and do it." You just told all of that because the person that's a non-doctor and you go into a surgical room, you would not think of the levels of thought that you've gone through scenario planning. If this happens,
oh
this
yeah,
happens, this happens, this happens, and how do we corral that and bringing it,
absolutely,
it into a success? Because everyone in the room is looking at you as a CEO. You're in charge of this, and you're driving this.
absolutely,
So I
absolutely, no
now I'm
question.
seeing what he saw. So he said, "Yeah, you know what? Come on over here. I will come after you for 1 year until I get you to sign on."
Yeah, but I'm very thankful for that persistence because it was transformative for me. So,
Yeah. So with all of this going on, and all of a sudden you say, "You know what? I want to." I want to take it to Nigeria. I want to do what I'm doing here to Nigeria. Because I mean, this sounds like 130% of your time, but there's
Yeah,
that churning there that says, a thirst there that says, let's go back home and
yeah,
do something. Walk us through that
yeah.
decision.
Well, I really appreciate you asking that question. I'll be remiss not to talk to you about the real estate part before talking about the Nigeria part. And the reason is because my investments, my work with allowing putting my capital to work outside of my exchange of time for money, which was my surgery job, um, allowed me the freedom to to essentially be able to do what I did in Nigeria. So I'll come
Okay.
around to what drove the decision to go to Nigeria, but about probably around 2015, I was about two years into practice, 3 years into being an orthopedic surgeon. Um, I started to realize that, you know what, if I continue to just, you know, just be only a surgeon and nothing else and didn't invest, didn't do anything, I was going to have to work forever. And I did all the calculations with the retirement accounts and saw what
Yeah.
most surgeons like retired with. And I quickly realized that, yeah, for the type of life that I want to live of abundance and being able to make a difference in the lives of millions of people, I don't think that would cut it.
Okay.
So I started to put money to work. I initially started with angel investing, started investing in startups. I realized that was kind of high risk, high reward by investing in dozens of startups between 2015 and 2020. I also did some single family investments. I thought if I bought one house
Yeah.
a year for the next 30 years, maybe I could sell all as a portfolio eventually. That was the thesis. But I realized the cash flow was poor from that. I hated being a landlord, didn't like tenants, termites, or toilets. And I was just like, this is not a great use of my extra time. And so
Mm.
it was around that time when I was thinking about what else can I do to create wealth outside of medicine that Leslie Awesome, who was my certified registered nurse and anesthetist, it was the anesthetist putting my patients to sleep at Hopkins. After surgeries, we would just talk a little bit about business. I'll talk about what I was doing, and we'll talk about what it was doing. It was the one who planted the seed of multifamily real estate in my mind and
Okay.
said, you know what? You've lived in an apartment before, right? I was like, yeah, yeah. It's like, it's people that own those apartments. I was like, yeah, yeah. It was like, we also could own them. I was like, how? How is it possible? I don't have $10 million, $20 million, thirty
Yeah.
million dollars to go buy an apartment building. It's like, but we could do it by pulling our resources, all of us together, going and buying this apartment buildings. And initially, I thought it was too far-fetched. I was like, that just seems a little too crazy. What do I know about all of this? It seems like something you need to go to school for. And then, but slowly, I started listening to podcasts, started to listen to, go to conferences, and just kind of listen in and explore it more, do some research. And I quickly realized that there were almost no healthcare professionals in this space.
Mm.
There were accountants, there were engineers, there were MBAs,
Yeah.
there were almost
No
anything
surgeons.
else, but
No
no
surgeons.
surgeons, no doctors, or very few in this space. And then I also realized that a lot of the people I was seeing in these rooms didn't look like me at all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I saw every hue and but all of us black folks can count each other in the room. And
Yeah.
I'm like, huh, this is interesting. So I went back to Leslie, and he already had a partner, Tenny Tolofari, and I was like, guys, I think there may be an opportunity to take the gospel of multifamily real estate to our communities of healthcare professionals and our underrepresented minority communities. I was like, those will be our avatars, those two communities. And at worst, we educate a bunch of them about it, and we make no money. But at best, they decide to choose us as their preferred partners to actually pull resources together to do this.
Wow.
And lo and behold, the message started to resonate. But initially, it was a little crazy. The people did not really. People thought I was a little nuts to be trying to do this.
Yeah.
I remembered I went into my phone book and listed out about 500 people that I thought could afford a $50,000 minimum
Yeah.
investment to pull
Hmm.
together to do this. And I'll talk to them. I'll have 14-hour days on the weekends, just talking to people I've not spoken to in 10 years. Many of my medical school classmates, residency partners or co-residents, co-fellows, things like that. And I would just talk to them and say, listen, I think there's an opportunity for us all to start banding together and buying apartment buildings. And they're just, most of them would just be like, "Hey, Julius, are you sure everything is okay? Is Hopkins treating you well?
Yeah.
Why you, why you asking me to
So what's
invest
going
in
on,
you?
Dr. Julius?
Exactly, you're an orthopedic surgeon, and it's like, what's happening? And I'm just like, listen, I think this is a great opportunity here. But a few of them were crazy enough to just
Mhm.
say, you know what? I know you as a person of integrity. I know you as a person of great character. I don't think you're gonna take my money and run. I don't know anything about this, but if you said you've done your research, yeah, take you know, take
Yeah.
take my money and we'll see what happens, and
Yeah.
and that's how we did our first deal.
Mm.
And then fast forward to now, almost 5 and a half, 6 years later, 217 million in asset under management. We've
Wow.
sold one of those deals where we bought for 12.5, sold for $17.8 million, $5.3 million profit, translated to 30% average annual returns for the investors. So we've proven that
Yeah.
we can work together, that
Yeah.
we can pull resources together and do uncommon things. And
Mm.
and in 2022, finally, I made enough. I was making enough income outside with my all of my investments outside of medicine to essentially not have to depend on medicine at all for
I,
sustenance.
mm.
So at that point, I had to ask myself, like, if money was not the issue, then how do I really want to be remembered? What do I want my legacy to be? Is
Mm.
it that I became a professor and I was
Yeah.
doing the same things that most of my mentors, or most of the people around me are doing? That's a great pathway too. You're making a lot of difference in the lives of other people. But I knew I had to go back to the basics and say, why did I do orthopedics in the first place? It was to serve people like my grandmother. Where are they? They're still in Nigeria, still suffering. There's still many of them that still don't have access to care. And even when they have access, they may not have access to the kind of care that I can deliver. And
Exactly.
so I was like, you know what? I came up with a vision statement. I was like, I'm going to contribute in whatever ways I can to improve access to high quality musculoskeletal care in underserved countries, starting with Nigeria. And once I
Wow.
became very clear on that vision, then there was no stopping me. I was like, I knew I had to do it. So I took a sabbatical from Hopkins and told my wife about it, that we're going to be going to Nigeria and
Yeah.
with the kids. And thankfully, she's a fantastic woman. She supported my dreams. And here we are, 8 months in. And guess what? It's been the most incredible experience of my life. I've never been happier in practice,
I,
taking care of
I,
Nigerians right here at home in Nigeria.
your own people. I followed that transformation, and I was wondering, big shot here. I'm gonna go here and start. I didn't understand the underpinning of that. That's a powerful story. And now you're back in your home country, and you're bringing something that people would have to wait a year or 2 years to get an appointment.
Yeah, in the past. Now, I mean, there's other
Yeah.
surgeons doing it in
Yeah.
in the country, but 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 the type of innovations I can bring in, the types of techniques I can bring in, the level of that I can do the surgery. There are only if the people that can do that in this country are few and far in between. So
Wow.
so I'm bringing significant value and yes, I'm making the least I've ever made in medicine, but I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Ah,
So, but guess what? I'm also seeing my kids a lot more often. I'm
yeah.
hanging out with my wife more often. I mean, the things that matter in life, I have, geographic freedom. I have time freedom. I have, some significant financial freedom. I have health freedom. I'm working out more. I'm fit. I'm I'm making a difference. I mean, I'm just so thankful. I feel just every morning I have to pinch myself. I feel such an intense sense of gratitude. And one of the things that I was so scared of when I made this decision was, oh, I'm gonna lose all of this hard work that I've done. I was like, my trajectory was going at a very significant pace. I was poised to be one of the new generation of, joint replacement surgeons that were gonna be the leaders of what we did. In academic medicine, I was getting a lot of great opportunities. I was on the development team for one of the implants that I put in. It's like I was working with industry, mentoring people, just doing a lot of good work that was still very rewarding. And I was like, man, I'm going to lose all of this if I went. But now I actually don't feel like I lost anything. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm making a difference. I'm inspiring the next generation of folks who want to make a difference, and I just can't be thankful enough for that.
That's such an inspirational story. Starting at 17, coming to US and consistently roadblocks here. I will navigate around it and I will do what I need to do to move that. When you look back through that journey and where you are now, what are you most proud of a decision that you made, or what's there? And
That's
yeah, what's said, you know what, of all the things I've looked at, this was the key moment here. Is there one?
yeah. So oh wow, there's been a few, but I'll tell you this. The one that comes to mind right now is one that I already kind of touched on. Just not being afraid to make the tough decisions.
Uh
Um, I I would be lying if I didn't say I experienced some significant fear
yeah.
um, when making this decision to move to Nigeria. I was worried that no one would, take me seriously in the US or internationally anymore, that I was going to become irrelevant, that um that I knew I wasn't going to have the same access to all of the resources that I used to have, that I was going to have to build everything from ground up. And that was paralyzing. And I was like, what
Mm,
happens if it doesn't work out? And
yeah.
then I
What is?
I sold my home. And what if, and I sold my home. I burned the boats to do it because I didn't want to have a backup plan. But then I thought about it. I was like, what's the worst that happens? I returned back to the US, and I'm a orthopedic surgeon, probably in a pretty prestigious institution. I was like, that is a fantastic fallback plan. I mean, how can I be so fortunate that is that's my backup plan? I was like, so my 80-year-old self would never ever regret
Yeah.
trying this,
Yeah.
but my 80-year-old self would absolutely regret not trying it when the conviction was as strong as it was when I did it. So I really am proud that I was able to push through those fears and make the decision anyways. Because it's I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The response it's gotten, the support I have gotten, the folks that move us inspired, the opportunities that are coming my way now. I mean, it was just it was it was the right decision to make, and it didn't look like it when I did make it.
Yeah. As we begin to close out, I want to mention one thing that you talked about: burning the boats. That was a frame in a movie, and If they were going into battle, they said you burn the boats because we have no other option, and this is what we're going to work through. That's absolutely amazing in walking through that. So one other question I wanted to ask as we begin to close is that you've gone through all of these changes throughout your career, and where you are now is all blue sky and trying to move it forward from that. What are you most excited about for the future?
Oh wow. Yeah. I'm most excited to see my vision for transforming the world of musculoskeletal care and overall healthcare in this part of the world come to life. I really am super excited about to see that happen. I also am extremely excited to see what happens and to see my vision with our real estate company and some of the dreams that we've had for transforming not just the lots of our African diaspora in the US, but to also facilitate a bi-directional flow of investments, both from Africa into our deals in the US, but also from the US and other parts of the world into Africa to do some audacious projects that transforms the lives of Africans right here at home in Africa. So those are my twin goals, is to transform medicine, particularly musculoskeletal care, and to transform in the business world through real estate investments, and that is what excites me. That's what powers me. That and interacting with some of our young people now in Nigeria just energizes me, and I see the future in them. And they just, in many ways than one, just give me hope that, the best is yet to come from for this part of the world, that we are just getting started, that there's in the coming years, there's going to be a significant transformation, and that our story is not going to be that of victims of the years past, that we are going to take charge and write the new stories of the future, and that we truly going to maximize the potential of what it means to be African, or to be African American in this day and age, moving into the future. I want to be part of that story. I want to be part of changing the narrative, and so help me God.
Absolutely amazing. As I said, I've been following you over the years. We're a little over time, so I know my producer is going to say we're coming up. But let me just say, I want to connect with some of our frequent listeners. Peter Piccinini started out on Broadway, managing plays and all those kinds of things, and he's a wealth advisor now, based in Long Island. Just Me says, super excited to be here. John Self says, good morning. Comfort zone is such a mediocre place. He said he asked clients, what do you do if you knew you could not fail? He started out as a reporter, and now he's in executive search, executive coaching. So we all make these transformations. Yvonne Neezy says, the freedom to do what you want whenever you want must be beautiful. Absolutely amazing. And Peter comes back and said, good man, great show, and all of that. So I want to thank you. I knew it was going to be like that. So I kind of sensed it was going to be this powerful. Hopefully, I'll see you in Nigeria. I'm working on a project to possibly come there later in the year. So hopefully we'll connect.
Fantastic. Please do not come without letting me know. I gotta show you around.
I will let you know, because I gotta immerse myself in all of this greatness, man. I mean,
Thank you so much.
So I need you to hold on for a second as we begin to close out, and then I'll come back and we'll talk offline. So thanks everyone for listening in. Share this to all of your network, and we're trying to grow the channel. Thank you.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.